What is the importance of fairy tales? Are beliefs considered self-storytelling?
Yes, beliefs are the stories you tell yourself about yourself. Sometimes, therefore, different kinds of stories outside of your beliefs, fairy tales and other kinds of stories, can help perhaps illuminate what some of the stories are that you're telling yourself in your belief system by how you respond to the fairy tale. The fairy tale can be designed to put you in touch with the stories that you're telling yourself to examine whether or not they are the stories you would like to continue to tell yourself or whether you would wish to change the story.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, you've spoken about how cats are shapeshifters, and I was wondering if small dogs also have this ability, or if dogs in general have a different gift or ability.
Well, it's slightly different. Both animals will be able to perceive other kinds of energies that are invisible to most humans. Cats more the idea of peering into other dimensions, but dogs more sensing the energies of the people that they live with to reflect back to them and be of service to them by reflecting those energies so that they can see in the dog reflections of things that may be going on in their own consciousness that they may need to pay attention to or deal with or transform. Animals act in very reflective ways. Therefore, the dog is more oriented to the idea of those internal reflections in the human, and the cats are more oriented to the idea of other dimensions and levels of consciousness so that humans can perceive beyond the physical reality by identifying with the frequency of the cat's intelligence. This is why many people who were termed wizards and witches who had sensitivity to other realities often had cats around as what you call familiars, because it enhanced, in a sense, as a permission slip device, their ability to perceive into other dimensions more clearly in the manner that the cats were doing. It is very rare that you will see the idea of people that are referred to as witches and wizards having a dog around, although there are some exceptions in certain cultures. But the dog, therefore, is more the idea of an internal reflection of self to give you an idea of what it is you may be processing that the animal is reflecting to you, whereas the cat is encouraging you to see beyond the physical reality and connect to your higher self and other dimensional aspects of your being.
You mentioned that cats can carry burdens for their owners, and I was wondering if dogs also do this and what we can do to release our burdens with and letting them know they don't have to do that for us.
Well, again, this is to some degree what I just explained. The dog, in particular, will reflect the different things going on that you may be experiencing in relation to fear based belief systems within you that require processing. But the processing, once you have your attention drawn to the fact that a fear based belief exists or that something needs to be looked at within yourself because of the reflection that the dog gave you, then it's simply about what we've already said. Going into what your belief system is, finding, digging up as a dog would, the buried belief system as a dog would dig for a bone, and allowing yourself to hear what that belief system is telling you, to really identify it and see that it makes no sense so that you can let it go.
Okay, thank you. Um, is the timeline for the pandemic still the same as you mentioned before, basically lasting approximately until July, August timing?
To some degree, but that's only the idea of the first phase. We sense at this time that there may be a second phase, and that is something that we can deal with at another time. For right now, you're still going through the passage of the eye of the needle, and that includes the entire first phase of the idea of the pandemic. So it's a time again to investigate yourself and let go of those things that don't serve you so you can come out the other side of the first phase, out the other side of the eye of the needle passageway, in a better position to deal with anything that might happen after that whether it be a second phase of the pandemic or whether it be other issues that are going on in your society. As you can see, many other issues are coming out in the light of what's going on with the self investigation that is being reflected by your entire society about what things you would prefer to change so that you can have a society that is more in alignment with what you prefer it to be.
Thank you. What is the root cause of racism and how can we heal our racial issues?
Well, the root cause, once again, is a fear based belief in the idea of disconnection. In other words, as you have fear based beliefs that allow you to have an experience of disconnection from your power, disconnection from your source, not that you actually can be disconnected, but the fear based belief can create an experience as if you are disconnected, then you feel disempowered. Feeling disempowered and disconnected doesn't allow you to understand the holistic perspective of how you are connected to everyone, how everyone is a reflection of you. And so, by being in that denial that you are connected to everyone and everything else, you then see and perceive from the fear based perspective that other things that you feel unconnected to are foreign to you, alien to you, dangerous to you. In other words, the fear based belief kicks you into survival mode so that when you perceive anything that you then perceive as different from yourself in a disconnected way, you will usually react with fear, with the idea that you need to protect yourself, with the idea that you might be harmed, and all the things that go along with the fear of being disconnected from your own self empowerment.
Thank you.
Yes.
Um, when will the majority of the parallel Earths be splitting off? And when will the train tracks be too far apart to switch? And what is the time frame as to when this will be completed and we won't perceive the non-preferred realities through a glass wall anymore?
All right. Now, first of all, the splitting will continue for quite some time. The idea of the train tracks being so far apart you can't switch is a little bit of a misunderstanding. You can always switch if you realize you can. What we were simply saying is that if you allow yourself to be on a train that is really vibrationally incompatible with who you prefer to be, you may give yourself an experience of not knowing that you can switch anymore, which is different from the understanding that you can switch, but you have convinced yourself by eliminating that idea from your consciousness that switching is possible. So, being more precise, it's not that you can't switch anymore, it's that you don't know you can switch beyond a certain point. Overall, as we sense the progress of the splitting prism now and the diversification of the tracks, you're looking generally, not that certain things can't be experienced a little bit sooner by certain individuals or groups, but since you've asked the question in an overall sense for your entire society, you're kind of looking at a period of time that lasts until about the idea of 2050. Beyond that point, it is going to be far less likely that you will experience anything that has to do with a reality that is vibrationally incompatible with the one that you prefer to experience. So it's going to be based on individual timelines, small group timelines, larger collective timelines as to how individuals or small groups or larger collectives will allow themselves to have that experience. It's not that everything will happen at once for everyone, but there will be different rates of progression and different experiences as it builds up to a collective experience.
Great.
Yes.
Um, I prefer a reality without toxic 5G, mandatory vaccinations, chipping, etc.
Yes.
Do I manifest that reality by making my voice heard, by going to protests, writing politicians, the media, etc., or and focusing on living on a healthy and peaceful planet where these things do not exist?
Well, Nania, as you have sensed, the answer is actually this and that. It's both. The idea being that you stay in a positive state in order to navigate yourself more accurately to the reality you prefer. But remember, action is the language of physical reality. So you actually have to take actions that are also positive in nature, done in a positive way, that are representative of the kind of things that you, as a person in a new reality, would be compelled to do, to speak your voice, to make yourself known as best as you can. The actions are crucial because then you're actually behaving as if you're in the new reality in a way. I know that sometimes that can seem contradictory because you might say in your mind, well, the new reality wouldn't have any reason for me to take actions on those things because those things wouldn't exist in that reality. And that's true. But until you're actually fully in that reality, you have to demonstrate, no pun intended, the idea of that vibration to act as an example for others as to what that energy looks like in the reality you're in right now. So the idea is take the actions that seem to draw you in a positive way, not out of fear, not negatively, not in opposition, but simply being a example for others as to the kind of energy, the kind of actions, the kind of conviction and commitment that goes along with the reality you prefer, while at the same time following the formula, acting on your passions, staying in a positive state no matter what happens, so that you can continue to navigate yourself energetically in the direction of the reality that you prefer. So again, simply put, the answer is both.
Great. Um, it's becoming clearer to me that I'm connected with people who support negative belief systems, and some of those are against my belief systems.
Yes.
Will I have to let go of these people in order to follow my excitement fully? And will my connection to these individuals hold me back?
No one can hold you back unless you agree to be held back, which means you're holding yourself back. So, yes, it might be necessary for you to create what appear to be detachments from people who are not vibrationally compatible with you. It's not always necessary, but the point is if you're asking the question, it's probably what you would rather do. What you would prefer to do is simply not interact with people who don't vibrationally align and harmonize with what you prefer in your life. So, generally speaking, yes, because otherwise you're agreeing to remain in a vibration sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes, where you then perpetuate the belief within yourself that they can affect you, when the truth is you're simply choosing to affect yourself by staying in those relationships.